On this new map, there's miles of smiles.
Because we've got piles of tiles.
With the new dungeon tiles, Reincarnated. Greetings, adventurers. My name's Monty Martin.
And I'm McLaughlin. And we are...
The Dungeon Dudes.
On this episode, we're taking a look at the Dungeon Tiles Reincarnated. Specifically, we're going to be opening up the Dungeon set.
These are portable game tiles that you can use for setting up dungeons environments at the game table to be used alongside your miniatures in play. There's also a set for wilderness environments as well as urban and city environments. We're just looking at the dungeon set firsthand today. The main reason being is that both Kelly and I have a big collection of these tiles already, and so we weren't entirely certain that there's going to be anything new in these for us. But if you don't have these already, this is a great chance to pick them up because they've been out of print for a long time before now.
And they retail for about $25 US, and these ones are coming out for D&D 5th edition, but you can use them for really any edition or any tabletop game that you want.
Yeah, I'm really excited to open this up, and then we can talk about how you can use them in your game.
Let's take a look.
All right, let's crack this open. Kelly, the box opening sword.
My liege. The sword makes it super easy to open things.
It does. I really like having a knife around to do this, and a sword just makes it feel that much more epic. This is a lot of plastic. So the first thing that's kind of funny is this beautiful artwork, which I think is by Hydro74, the same guy that did Volo's Guide to Monsters.
I'm growing to really like his art style.
Is not the box.
It's just a
lovely cover. Because, and this is the exact same as the previous sets of dungeon tiles, they come in a box that opens up, and you keep this box.
The box top can be used as a elevated platform for additional setup.
Both the bottom and the top.
Oh!
Actually. Right? And it has artwork on the sides too, so that you can get the one platform like that, and then the second one like so. So you get this nice big, if you want to have like a throne room environment. And then we actually have the tiles themselves.
Oh, we need the sword again.
We do need the sword again. So there's more packaging in there.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah, there.
All right, so we finally opened up all that, and now we have the tiles themselves.
Yeah.
So you get 16 of these sheets that have various types of artwork on both sides.
I'm already noticing a distinct difference between this and the previous set.
Yeah, so this one actually, so this is the dungeon set, but there's a lot of Cavern pieces in it. Oh, these are actually new. I don't have these. Maybe they were in a previous set. I'm really impressed just right off the bat. There's a lot of pieces in here that I don't have.
Yeah, I was anticipating this being just a replica of the previous version of the tiles. Yeah. But it looks like there's a lot of really interesting pieces. I recognize some of these ones, but
yeah, there's a lot of, so like this one, and I'll just start punching these out to see. Right, they punch out really, really easy. They just come right out. And then usually the way that they go is you have one side is neutral dungeon, and then the other usually has some other kind of terrain feature on the back of it. So like this one is a big spiral staircase on this side is just a blank room. This one being ruins and rubble, and this one being water, then blank on the other side. And then you end up with lots of garbage to throw away afterwards.
I also always really like these. You have the closed door and the open door.
But like it gets into some interesting, like this is the new ones. Like, so this is a metal top with a open pit bottom, but I don't think they've done it prior to that. Like this is a funky bit because it's for a big curved piece that comes out in actually a large curved room.
Yeah, and there was four of those pieces, so you can actually make a huge room here.
Yeah, 4 right in the box. So you can do a big, gigantic circular room with circular tunnels. Actually, the cool thing about this that you could also do with them is because it's done battlements along the top. So it actually seems like you can use this together to do a very large top of a tower or castle. Yeah.
For an epic tower top fight scene, which for some reason I'm picturing with a dragon.
There's a few things that are interesting about this right off the bat, and a few things that actually strike me right away. Is that this tile set has much smaller tiles, and it has a lot of different kinds of tiles than the previous ones, but not a lot of like the very simple style, right?
So different styles of tiles.
Yes, many different styles of tiles for miles. Miles and miles of different styles of tiles.
We got piles.
For this gigantic pile of tiles. It doesn't have any of the big 8 by 8 tiles in it, right? All of these, like the biggest one in here is the 4 by 8 size.
Yeah.
Right? So you actually can't make big rooms very easily.
Only a big circular room. That's the only one.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I guess. Yeah, there's some interesting shaped pieces here. You can make some different shapes. I mean, it is nice that the old tile set was a lot more square, and this one you can actually do some different things with, which I kind of like.
Yeah. And like you also have the different cavern shapes on the inside.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat.
For extra.
Oh, there is an 8 by 8. So there is one big 8 by 8.
A little campsite.
So now we have a pile of tiles.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different pieces in here. A lot of really cool pieces. There is one large piece that we get, although it's not blank on either side, is it?
No, it's not. So the only way that you can do a big blank square room is with the top of the box.
Yeah. So
we've kind of just laid them out by the size of the tile. All of these have different things on the other sides of them, right? So you can make a pretty large neutral room using the round pieces. So you are able to make this one really gigantic round room.
Or you can even make it bigger by using these guys with the battlements.
I don't think that Wizards of the Coast made big round pieces like this in the past. So this is brand new for anyone that already has the dungeon tiles. Kind of interesting.
The inclusion of the caverns is also something that is really interesting to me. There's a lot of different cavern sets and pieces that you can use. And especially there's a lot that connect the dungeons and the caverns. So you can actually have like, you know, a dungeon with part of the wall broken away that leads into a cavernous.
But that's a little imbalanced because like all 5 of these 4 by 8 large tiles, these are all cavern. And there's only one 4 by 8 dungeon piece, which is the bedding on one side and the neutral on the other, right? You get this other dungeon piece that is 3 by 8, which has pillars built into it and is neutral. But then also this other really large piece here is cavern or connecting. And looking at the 4 by 4s, there's a dungeon, but all the other ones, and that one is not even neutral on both sides. So almost all the other ones are cavern. So I would actually say it's kind of mislabeled, this box. It's really more caverns.
Yeah, I'd say you have, I mean, it depends on your definition of a dungeon.
Okay, so like a dungeon can be any environment. But if you're expecting stone passageways, and being able to make your kind of traditional stone large rooms, this actually isn't going to do it for you, right? You're going to get a lot of more underground passages in roughly hewn rock than you are going to get of neutral flagstone floor style dungeon pieces.
Yeah, my joy of seeing this comes from the fact that I own the previous edition of these sets, so I have a lot of the dungeon tiles already, so adding the cavern pieces in is great. But if this is the only set you're getting, you are getting kind of a mixed bag here, so just be aware of that.
Yeah, I think that I got this one big because I was like, well, maybe there'll be stuff that's useful and new. And fortunately, I'm happy there is, because I have a bunch of other ones. But the other ones that came out for 4th edition and 3rd edition had a big piece like this that was just dungeon.
I think they had a couple.
They did. You usually got 4 or 5 like that. So you could build a couple big rooms, and then you would get pieces like this that you would then use to make passages between them.
Yeah.
And then usually the smaller pieces like these ones, so they're here again, like this is the little one with doors and that open on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Piles of barrels and accessories. So usually the smaller tiles that are like 2 by 1 or 1 by 1 have like detail pieces on them as opposed to being flat nothing.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. What do you think?
I think they're still a great addition to the game. It's just being aware of that one big piece here that is you are getting a lot of Cavern.
Yeah.
And you are also getting a lot of little bits. Brings me to we were discussing beforehand some of the things that were problematic with the tile set, and one of them is that they move around a lot on the table. So since this set comes with a lot more little pieces, I can see that meaning that you're going to have to reset them on the table quite a bit, especially if you have players that are like putting their sheets and stuff over top of them, and then when they move them, it's all kind of scattered.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it is eminently usable because, as you can see, that it has a 1-inch grid on it that completely matches the 1-inch grid that you'd find on a Chessex battle mat.
Yeah.
So it's perfect for using with miniatures. The grid is very, very clear. If you want to have that perfect tactical combat, it's excellent for it. And the things on it, like, you know, the blood-stained altar and everything like that, there is evocative artwork.
Yes.
And there is this useful thing where they mark some of the tiles with little triangles to say, oh, you could count that as difficult terrain. So it is really useful for that tactical environment. I just think that this set in particular has awesome pieces for someone that already has the set.
Yeah.
But less so for someone that's new. And I have noticed from the new Wilderness set and the new City set, the new City set has a lot of sewer pieces in it. And the new Wilderness set has a lot of river and water pieces in it, as well as desert pieces. So with all of these sets, diversity is really, really a big feature of them. There's lots of different environments that you can create with the tile sets. However, what you're not getting is a lot of what I would consider to be like nuts and bolts builder pieces. So, and this was kind of the case with the previous tile sets too. You might have to buy 2 sets before you feel like you have enough pieces to create an environment, which isn't too bad if you're just going to buy the dungeon set twice. That's $50. But if you're going to get all 3 twice, you're now spending $150, which I'll say for myself, I've kept mine for years.
Yeah, I've used mine in, I'm going to say, probably over half of the games that I've run. I've used some form of the tiles. And they're a great addition to any game, and even just getting one. And another thing is combining it with other tile sets or even Dwarven Forge or things of that nature. If you can use this as kind of your base layer and then use other items to kind of amplify it, that also can work a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's really elegant too for when you're actually creating a dungeon or creating an environment, because instead of needing to draw it out by hand, I've often just played around with the tile pieces and found interesting combinations. And then when I make something that I like, I just grab my smartphone and take a photo. But there is enough diversity that if you're working from a map in an adventure module, it's pretty easy to reverse engineer and put them on the tiles as well, and make the tiles fit whatever shape you want to create.
What we have here is a dungeon that we have made using the tiles in the box, and we're just going to go over it here with you. We've added in some minis to kind of flavor it up, and so what do we have here, Monty?
So we generated this dungeon completely on the fly using the tiles, which is, I have to admit, one of my fun things that I like about them is that it is a great source of inspiration. So we started off, we wanted to use the big round piece. So I imagine that this is like the base of a tower that maybe the party has explored already. It's useful because you can just grab the other like dungeon dressing pieces and put them in the tower to simulate different levels of the tower and leave the spiral staircase in the middle.
Yeah.
So this is the ground level of the tower, and the party enters in through here, and they come through these doors. They find like the secret chamber at the bottom of the tower, where there's a statue and like two elven guardians that might be ghosts. I don't know. I just kind of put them there because they look cool.
And then that could be like a trap or a puzzle that they have to...
Yeah, maybe there's a riddle or something that they have to solve. And this might also be where like they get the quest that they're going to go on for the rest of the dungeon.
And then once they move on past that, you have a campsite that the party might decide to camp at. But, I mean, with the scary sacrifice altar right nearby, it doesn't seem like the safest place to camp.
I like the idea of the party finding the journal of another adventurer who came in here and sat down and slept, and then was devoured by a spirit conjured by the sacrificial altar.
Oh, good. That makes you feel safe.
So it gives a little bit of a backstory to the whole what happened in the dungeon, and then the party knows that this is a trick.
Yeah, and then you have the sacrifice altar where, do you think they might, I guess, if they don't learn from the journal, they might actually encounter that?
Yeah, maybe there's something that they need elsewhere in the dungeon to actually cleanse this altar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you come to one of my favorite areas, which is the mushroom-infested cavern, with the roper in the middle, who we decided has lived there long enough that he's immune to the poison of the mushrooms, but he can grab the party and drag them into the poison of the mushrooms, which is pretty vicious. And then up in the north end over here, you have the two trolls and their little troll den. Yeah, and we kind of put this hole in this bit of water in here as a throw off, but we talked about the idea that maybe this is an exit that either the pool of water or the hole is an exit that leads back to the surface, and the trolls actually come in and out through that direction. So the party then, if they spend a bit of time exploring above ground, they can find that they can go through this puzzle or a difficult battle to get deeper into the dungeon. Instead, they've got two options. Yeah, and then as you come around here, you find the Wizards Sanctum. You find his library, all of his books, everything. But the wizard is looking a little worse for wear these days. He is now a specter, wraith, or some kind of spectral undead that might still have his spellcasting ability. Yeah. And so that might make him too dangerous for the party to fight. So they have to negotiate with him. Maybe they have to find his old notes and remind him of his prior life in some way. And there you go. You have yourself a cool little dungeon just thrown together pretty quickly using the tiles and a bit of imagination. Yeah, so we didn't use all the tiles in this setup. The main ones that we didn't use were kind of the other cavern pieces that are 4x4 and the other cavern pieces that are 4x8. I think that if we did, we would probably expand this section. Yeah, this section of the area, and then we would probably use these pieces as connector pieces or details somehow. And then from that, the remainder were kind of these smaller dungeon dressing pieces and the irregularly shaped pieces. I could see putting this on the corner of something, and again to have another room. These kind of weird triangular pieces, they're not very uniform. You could do this this big staircase that maybe leads down to another level of the dungeon, but you couldn't use all four of these to make one octagonal room, which kind of sucks because they all have different patterns on them, and there's only one piece that's neutral. Yeah. So yeah, you could make a cool dungeon, and I could see changing this layout a few times. This is easily something that would take one game session to get through, and you could change it around and use it for a lot of different layouts. Yeah, definitely. So there is a lot of value in this pack, and the amount of interchangeability makes it really worthwhile. Yeah, I like it. I think that you'll get more out of it if you already have existing dungeon tile sets. But on its own, it's pretty good too. We've got out a couple of my older sets of dungeon tiles just to show you if you are considering the city or the wilderness tiles,
what you're going to get. You are going to get similar boxes. These are my older ones that are kind of beat up. But that's the one that you get with the city that's got like the rooftops on it.
And the nice alleyway in between them.
Yeah, and the wilderness set just is plain grass. The nice thing again about these, because they have the storage boxes, is I found them really useful. I've been DMing Tome of Annihilation at 401 Games for Adventures League, and so it's really easy to bring these tiles with me when I'm traveling. So that's the other advantage of dungeon tiles, is that if you are a DM that isn't running the game at home, you can bring these with you everywhere you go, and they're really, really easy to transport. These are some of the wilderness pieces. These are the ones that are actually similar to the ones that have been reprinted in the wilderness set. So you get many, many more larger pieces in the wilderness set, as well as these cool desert ones as well. What you're not going to get, though, unfortunately, are these like larger pieces, like these ones. These are some of the ones from the older sets, and I still recommend then, if you can hunt down a copy of the 4th edition or even the old 3rd edition sets, they're going to fit right in, like they match up perfectly, but they will give you larger pieces so you can make bigger dungeons.
We have a few pieces here of the city set. Just showing kind of buildings that you can make. There's docks and city walls as well, all included in the city set there.
Yeah.
So now we've taken an in-depth look at the Dungeon Tiles Reincarnated, an excellent accessory to add to your gaming table that can really amp up your game.
The artwork on these is really beautiful, and it really adds an extra level of detail to the gameplay experience. But we'd love to see what your setups look like. Have you created anything like this yourself? Do you find this useful in your game? If so, share with us in the comments or get in touch with us via Twitter. You can follow the links below for that because we love posting photos of our setups that we use at our games, and we'd love to see yours too.
And if you're looking for other recommendations from us on essential gear that you can use in your game, we have a video on that right over here.
And of course, the Dungeon Master's screen was also recently reincarnated. You can check out our review of that right over here.
Please subscribe to our channel so that you never miss an episode.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time
in the dungeon.